Sup flappers, welcome to another Genshin Impact video, and as you can see today we have a special guest. We have the MC here. She's smiling, and it's generally, she's very pleasant to look at. She's a very cute character, and the reason why she's kind of our host today is because I want to talk a little bit about elements, and strictly speaking, the Electro element. And we're going to touch on a little bit about the Hydro element and how its resonance is in the current game state. But mainly I want to focus on Electro. And recently, with the inclusion of Inazuma, we are now able to play as the Electro MC, and I gotta be truthful, I think she's great. I think she definitely solves some issues in the current game state. She opens up certain playstyles, and she makes certain characters more enjoyable, and makes a lot of other characters and builds and teams just more viable and more fun, most importantly. So with that said, if you are into Genshin Impact content, I make Genshin videos every single day. I stream twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With that said, let's get into the video. Now, currently, I think no one is surprised when somebody mentions up like, well, Electro is in a weird state. I don't want to say Electro is weak because a lot of people get, I guess, upset when I say Electro is weak. I wouldn't say it's necessarily weak, it's just it's confused. I kept using this term because I think it explains Electro so well. Electro is a confused element, and currently with the Electro MC, I think Electro has become more useful and more utility based as opposed to for damage, right? So when we think about damage in Genshin Impact, the first element that comes to mind is Pyro. When we think of defense, the first one that comes to mind usually is Geo. And now when we think about utility, we have Anemo, who when it comes to utility is all about Vortex, pulling, kind of semi-CC, while Electro feels like it's supposed to be this sort of damage element, but Mihoyo has now definitely pushed it more towards utility and, specifically speaking, energy recharge, which also makes sense, right? Electro, battery, electricity, well, it actually does make sense. Thematically, it works. Now, why am I talking about this? Because I've talked about Electro buffs in the past, I talked about Electro changes in the past, and how likely there will be Electro changes when new Electro characters gets released. But now, upon further inspection of what Mihoyo is currently doing with the Electro element, I'm beginning to think that there might be a chance that Mihoyo is just not gonna change Electro. Now, there may be many reasons for them to decide to leave Electro as it currently is, and one of the reason is because that there simply is no need to make Electro changes as long as they continue to release newer characters to benefit or that are more in line with their vision for what the Electro element should be doing. And like I was saying earlier, energy recharge, batteries, team batteries. So with the Electro MC, I think we can see the start of a new era for Electro characters. Now with patch 2.1 having two Electro characters, two new Electro characters, one of them being the Electro Archon, I originally thought maybe Mihoyo is going to tweak Electro a little bit, maybe not necessarily a buff per se, but definitely some tweaks, some changes to make Electro feel more fluid, more in line with the current game state. But now seeing the Electro MC, it's given me a thought that I've been having for around a week now, and even during my live streams I have been too scared, I guess, to talk about this, but I think I need to let it out the bag so everybody in the community can start talking about this. Do you guys think, and I'm asking you guys, do you guys think that Mihoyo will just not make any changes to Electro, and going forward for new Electro characters, they will just tune their kits to fit this new narrative for Electro? This doesn't necessarily mean that Electro cannot do damage. Of course they can, just like Fischl, Keqing, right? Even Razor, Beidou, these are all great damage dealers. But I always said before as well that these characters are strong because of their numbers, their tuning, their scaling, not because they are Electro. In fact, Electro only serves to hold some of them back. Imagine if Keqing was a Pyro character. Imagine if Keqing was a Cryo character. Ayaka, right? There opens more potential, and the Electro element seems to be in a weird spot because I think Mihoyo themselves never knew what they wanted to do with this element, right? Look at Keqing, Razor, Beidou, Fischl. none of these characters really screamed energy recharge. Sure, we use Fischl as a battery for certain teams, and I use her personally with my Kaching. I like to pair with my Kaching, but that is mainly also because of the Electro resonance. Now, speaking of the Electro resonance, yes, it does give energy recharge, but if going forward, the Electro characters are also going to give energy recharge for the team, just like the MC, also with additional energy recharge coming from the Electro resonance. I think at times it may feel quite excessive. And when we talk about excessive, we also have to touch a little bit on another resonance, and that is the Hydro resonance. So with the release of Kokomi, we're going to get a new Hydro character. I think this is the newest Hydro character since Tartaglia. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe so. Hydro characters also are in a weird state, not because they are weak or anything. Hydro characters are some of the strongest characters in the game. In fact, my boy Xingqiu, complete MVP, carrying through the contents of Inazuma. But the Hydro resonance has always been in a weird spot, I want to say, right? So the Hydro resonance gives you additional healing, and just like the Electro resonance gives you additional energy regen, the Hydro resonance starts to feel quite excessive and redundant once you make it to a certain point in the game. And these are all things that are very minimal, I want to say. These are definitely not like game breaking or it inhibits you from enjoying the game. In fact, nothing currently, I want to say, in Genshin Impact prohibits me or stops me from enjoying the game. It's just that these are definite issues that Mihoyo has to look to when they want to solve the problems, right? There are current issues in the game, and slowly but surely Mihoyo is going to fine-tune each and every one of these problems. And I do believe the Hydro resonance is an issue, just like the Geo resonance was back then. Now, touching on Geo, why did Mihoyo change the Geo resonance and make changes to Geo, even though likely, they could have just done what they are likely going to do with the Electro element, which is to release newer characters that benefits from the vision of what Mihoyo has for Geo, instead of fine-tuning Geo resonance and then releasing new characters. It doesn't make any sense. If they did that for Geo, why can't they do that for Electro? Now, here's the thing. For Geo, by the time the Geo resonance happened, there were already 2 new additional Geo characters. Additionally, on top of the pre-existing ones, Geo was already looking to have a pretty stacked roster, and at the same time, Zhongli was going to be getting changes. So I think Mihoyo at the time just went back, revisited Geo, saying, hey, we can fine-tune some of the details here. We're already making changes anyways. Let's just throw this in to make sure going forward, if we do have a Zhongli rerun, that it's going to be a hit. Geo's going to be in a good spot. We're not going to need to worry about it. So the difference between that and Electro is, up until this point, there has been no new additional Electro characters since patch 1.0. They just never released one. So Electro is still rocking the original few characters that it had, and going forward, it's much easier for Mihoyo just to say, hey, we don't really need to fine-tune Electro as long as we continue making newer characters fall in line with what we believe Electro should be. The element should be moving towards a good state. Now, what we're talking about now when we say, oh, Electro feels weak, it's all talking about the characters that we currently have, correct? So, going forward, if these newer Electro characters hits a threshold, they're able to perform at the level that is expected for the current state of the game, then maybe, just maybe, Electro changes won't ever be needed. Now, finally, that raises the question, well, does that not mean that the older Electro characters become semi-obsolete? And here's my answer to that. It's all up to Mihoyo. If Mihoyo wants to push more power, push more damage, then yes, that would mean the newer Electro characters are just going to outperform the old ones. If Mihoyo are smart about this and they make it more utility focused, like I was saying, it's more about utility, and make sure the numbers are not overtuned, then we likely will have some really solid characters that can solve a lot of Electro's identity crisis issue, as well as making these characters fun to play, engaging, and not overpowered. So like and subscribe if these kind of videos interest you. I make them all the time, as you can see on my channel. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe and peace.